Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head, and today we are back with another piece of gear and another beer. That's right, it's your weekly dose of gear and beer. I'm Colin True. I spent over 20 years working for brands and makers in the outdoor industry.
And I am still Justin Hausman, a journalist, professional gear reviewer, senior editor at Adventure Journal, and believe it or not, certified beer expert.
You want to put old ex-porn star on the list too?
People know. I think
going?
they know. I don't want to use my my porn name, so they'll know. The voice I'm sure is enough.
Sidebar: what would be your porn name be?
Probably something about house man.
It has to be
I mean,
house man.
I don't know. They're usually not based on your actual name, right?
I know, but it works out in this case.
It works out pretty well. Yeah. The house call. I don't know.
Today, we will first be reviewing a piece of gear the way you would expect gear to be reviewed on the Rock Fight. We don't talk about stack height, geometry, or width underfoot. We talk about the experience, our likes and our dislikes, and then we'll take that piece of gear, in today's case, multiple pieces of gear, and pair it with the perfect gears, plural, with the perfect post-activity beverage, because Justin is a beer expert, a cicerone is what they call him, which is a certified beer expert. You can look it up. It's a real thing. The bottom line here is you'll get the pairings that matter most, gear and beer. And Justin, what gear and what beer are we reviewing today?
Well, our gears, I'm going to start using that as plural. I don't love the English language sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I realize gears is plural for more than one gear, but as a category, it's just gear. You know what I mean?
Right, you wouldn't, right.
It's how many gear are on your bike? No. How many gears are on your bike? Anyway.
Right. But we have 3 items we're talking about, so go for it.
Only 3? I thought you were doing 2.
Oh, I got 1.
All right, then. Well, anyway, we're talking about our 3 favorite camping items because we just went camping together, and we got all inspired to talk about the stuff that we love, camp-wise and otherwise.
I guess I kind of have a half of one. I want to reference another thing, but you can't get it anymore, so I'm not going to spend that much time
That's all right. That's all right. It's not about getting stuff. It's about talking about how cool stuff is, remember?
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
And then we're beer-wise, we're going with the 10-barrel, the Juicy Drama IPA, which is very aptly named. We'll talk about that in a minute.
It's the best name of the 4.
It's a good name.
It's a great name.
It's a good name. Cloudy Mentality is pretty good, but Juicy Drama is even better. This is the fourth and final week of 10-barrel beers, at least for this installment. Who knows what's coming down the road from this beautiful partnership. We did the Cloud Mentality first. We did the Apocalypse. Last week we did Always Down. And this week, as we said, it's Juicy Drama time. I chose to pair the final boss, the 9.6% ABV, basically liquor, Juicy Drama, with something we could just riff on, just camping gear general. Because if you're drinking Juicy Drama, you're probably mostly just going to be rambling to your friends incoherently around the campfire anyway. So we'll try to keep it coherent. But it's a big old beer, and you're going to be, you drink a whole one of these, and get back, ready to sit back and just tell everybody everything you've ever thought of ever, because that's how this.
I'd suggested we bring this beer with us camping, and then considering how the last night I was so tired, I was basically in a coma as we were hanging out.
At
if we had if I had had a Juicy Drama, it would have been over.
Yeah,
it would just knockout time.
Yeah, you'd have been joined the raccoons digging through our garbage.
Oh yeah, we got hit hard.
Well, it was okay, not so bad.
Before we talk about our favorite camping items, a couple of housekeeping items. First, we want you to sign up for Rock Fight's newsletter. You know why? Because you'll like it. It's a good newsletter. Mm-hmm. You should check it out. It's the kind of email you want to receive and you won't want to immediately unsubscribe from. Second, to all of our new listeners, welcome to the Rock Fight and to Gear and Beer. Please click that follow button on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, just whatever app you're listening to us on. Please click follow. That's how you subscribe. It's how we show up on charts. It's how all of these things happen, is you guys clicking follow. So please do that.
Please tell us about your favorite gear and beer, will you? We want to hear from you. Send your suggestions and feedback to rockfight@gmail.com. And we really do want to hear from you. If you're thinking right now, they're not going to take the time to read. Yes, we are. We're going to read it. We're going to read it to each other. We're going to talk about it. We're going to share some laughs. And then we're going to talk about whatever you suggest that we talk about. So send us some suggestions, okay?
I try to respond to every email we get to at least say, hey, thanks for listening.
Yeah, but you type so slow. So. It's hard, if you're not getting a response, it's because Colin uses both index fingers to type.
I'm still working on the emails we got in June of last year.
Yeah, he has a typewriter plugged into a computer somehow. I don't really know how it works. Hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it until I'm seeing it right here written down. Slay sacred cows. That's mean. Is that mean?
Well, it's just metaphorically, I suppose it is.
I'm not criticizing you or anything like that. I just have never really thought about that, like the origin of that saying before. I mean, it's like, obviously, like cows are sacred to certain religions. And the idea is that, like, we're not going to respect that. We're going to kill it. It's just such a gnarly way to say that. Like, there's got to be a less violent way to say, like, tackling things that other people are unwilling to tackle.
You know that thing that's really
super important
to you?
That, like,
fuck that.
We know better. We're going to kill it. It's just such a gnarly phrase.
That's amazing.
Have you ever thought about it before? I hadn't.
Not like that. I mean, I think it's an interesting descriptor.
It's a good band. It's also a great band name. Slay Sacred Cows.
All right, man. Well, let's get into the gear. What are we talking about today?
You want me to start?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. So I didn't actually have either of these things while we were camping. That's not really the point. But we decided that I
feel misled.
Well, I mean, not this particular time, but you know what? Yes, I did. Nobody else saw. I had these both of these things. Yeah. Nobody else was there.
They were so cool.
As far as you know, we had them. No, we wanted to take the time to kind of talk about some of our favorite camp pieces, and after Colin went to bed at 4:30 in the afternoon, I with the 5 hours of daylight we had after that, was sitting around kind of thinking about it, and thinking about the hundreds of camp experiences I have, and it's weird how you like. The two things I picked, one of them is kind of unique. The other one is the most like run-of-the-mill thing of all time. But you know how it is? Like, some things just mean more to you. Like, some things you get bummed about if you don't have it anymore, or you'll turn around an hour into your drive to go get it, kind of a thing. Because it's almost like a blankie or whatever. You have to have it while camping. But so the two things I picked are, I think, the two things that when I think back to my camp experiences over the last like decade are the things that I have kind of cherished the most. And I'm going to go in the order of the one that, well, I guess they're both still available. So one of them is my favorite camp chair of all time, which is the Nemo Stargaze. And this thing is pretty unique. One, it folds up into a tiny little bag. Nemo and Sea to Summit are like clearly have the two. I bet you they have like, I bet their engineers, or at least some of the product engineers, are like big time rivals, because both Nemo and Sea to Summit are experts at making things fit into the tiniest fucking bags on earth. Like, where as you're trying to break something down to fold it down to put it back in its bag, you're thinking there's no way in hell this is going to fit. And, but they do. And so anyway, the Nemo Stargaze is like a swinging chair. It's almost like a little hammock chair. With a collapsible pole, it fits into a nice little bag. I mean, it's a rocking chair per se, but it really the way that it works is you put up these two kind of stands, and then you clip two sides of the chair into it, and it just swings freely between the both of the stands.
That's so sick.
And if you have like you kind of need a footrest or some sort of natural ottoman, if you will, to really make it work the most comfortably. But you can you really can just kind of lean back and look at the stars and just kind of like gently like kind of rock, and it's incredible. I only get to use it if I'm solo camping, because the second I set it up, my two little girls are all over it. It's like their favorite thing on earth because it swings. But I love mine so much.
That was my first question is it the Stargaze so you can actually like lean back and like look up and comfortably do so?
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, like, you just lean back, put your hands over your chest, and just kind of gently swing. There's two cup holders. It's awesome. I mean, the only I guess downside, if you will, is like I'm probably on the upper end of the size you can kind of be to sit in it comfortably. At like 6'1.5", and awkwardly shaped, as you saw, Colin. But I thought
you were quite handsome.
Well, that's true, but just kind of oddly shaped. So, if you're bigger
and graceful,
if you're bigger than me, thank you. If you're bigger than me, it might be a bit of an issue. But that thing is just so epic. Go get one. You can get them. They're like, what'd you say it was? How much does it cost? $5,000?
Oh, that's $250.
It's worth wow. Yeah. What did that? So you're getting a real bargain at $250, because I would easily pay $5,000 for this.
Is it light enough? Could you take it backpacking?
Hell no. I mean, like,
oh, it's heavy.
Yeah, well, it's not that it's heavy. It's I mean, even though, like, it gets into a small bag, but
I was curious because I just looked at the picture of it real quick before we hit record, and I was like, oh, that could be small enough that you can maybe stow it inside of your backpack.
No, you wouldn't. No,
it's a
could, but you wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I don't know. Amazing chair. It goes on all of my trips except for this last one, and I bust, like, when we do fires in the backyard, this is the chair I use. If I'm going to sit outside at home, this is the chair I use. It's just awesome. It's my favorite. Nemo also makes my favorite like giant family tent, but this is my favorite thing from Nemo. It's badass. But yeah, you can get them Nemo, you can get them REI, you can get them probably Backcountry. I don't know, pretty much any third party retailer. But get it from Nemo if you're gonna buy one.
So what's the next thing you got?
So the next thing I got, I mean, it's a tent. Tents are so. Can we just talk about how cool tents are for a second, Colin?
Totally. That's my choice as a tent.
I don't think they get enough respect or enough talk in the outdoor space, how amazing tents are. I mean, it's just like, it's a little home, just a little home, tiny little home that you get to make. I don't think there's a cozier experience on earth than getting into it like a well set up tent, right?
Yeah, I mean, not to spoil it on something my thing, but like, I famously am not the biggest fan of camping, and I still
you hate
when
camping.
We said
actually, you said that multiple times.
I never said hate. But like the setting up this tent, which I've only probably ever spent nights with kids in, and just being able to kind of get inside and kind of rediscover that like just joy of being in a tent by myself. It's an awesome experience. And you're right. I mean, when you're a kid, is there a better piece of gear than a tent?
One of the first,
because it's your own little house.
One of the first memories I have, or like earliest memories of just general life, is getting into my G.I. Joe tent that I slept in my house.
Yeah.
Like so plasticky, just getting high off the fumes, that like, terrible cheap plastic that it was. But man, that was great. And like
you can hallucinate about being the greatest American hero.
Hallucinate.
G.I. Joe,
hallucinate.
Great. No,
real American hero.
That's it.
Real American hero.
I was confusing with
the greatest American hero.
Yeah.
Sorry, but yeah, they're just. I mean, I know everybody loves tents. I just think we tend to like. I don't know. I don't think we tend to appreciate them for how amazing they are of a thing. I mean, tents are so good now. I'll get to that in a second with this one. But for the most part, unless you're getting like some extremely bargain basement tent brand, it's going to work. Yeah. It's going to be like sufficiently staked to the ground. It's going to keep you dry if you put the fly up properly. They're so much easier to set up than they were like 20 years ago. Like every tent, unless you get like a really weirdly complicated one, they're all super intuitive. Anybody can set them up. We've come a long way, and they're all so much lighter and stuff than they used to be. So the one that I kind of my favorite all-time tent, it just because of its sheer utility and price point, is the REI Half Dome 2. I don't have one anymore. It was kind of the first tent that my wife and I got together, probably like in 2010. And I'd had tents before that, but this was like, it's the kind of thing where like I didn't know where they came from. Maybe I bought one from a friend or whatever. Like they were just kind of around. But this one we got as like a birthday present or something like that. And so we went to or Christmas presents. We went to REI, typical REI experience. The sales guy came over and like showed us the one that he thought we should get with our money, and like set it up for us and let us both get in it because we're big, to see that we'd fit. And we did. And that was our tent for years. Probably, I think I sold it like 4 years ago. So like that, we used that tent everywhere. We went from, that tent car camping to using it backpacking to getting to the point where like I would carry the poles and she would carry the fabric, we learned everything about camping and backpacking in that tent. And I think it costs what, $250, $350. I bet it costs about the same. I think it's $350. I bet it cost I bet it was like $250 when we got it. And it looks exactly like the current version. Color's a little bit different, but it's just a very simple, basic, 2 poles, 4 points on the ground, a really easy fly to set up. You can set the fly up by itself, I'm pretty sure, with this one. I could be wrong about that, but I think you can. It weighs like 4.5 pounds. It's not small, but it's you could have that thing forever. I sold it to somebody who was going backpacking for the first time, and I guarantee they're still using it and having a blast. We lent it out to folks all the time. And everybody loved it. It's nostalgic for me because it was just kind of the first tent I really fell in love with. But it was also you'd like go backpacking and you go on a day hike and then you start walking back to camp and I'd see that little yellow fly from a long ways away and I'd be so proud of it. Just like, look at that little tent. It just was awesome.
It's your home.
Yeah. And it's just, I had millions of tents since then. My garage is filled with tents and like I kind of love them all. And it wouldn't be the tent I would use if I was going backpacking now. But I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for a tent like that. I mean, it's just the entry level badass, like bulletproof tent is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And REI nailed it with that one.
There's some we talked about it, I think, when we talked about, maybe it was the Mafates, the Hoka Mafates, but like footwear is special, right? It becomes like the crown jeweled store and everything kind of like, it's not the most expensive thing, but when you talk about like what shoes, what goes on your feet, the connectivity of the ground, but then also just like the cool factor of what shoes you're wearing. I think tent in the gear world, the tents, I mean, more so than even packs or sleeping bags, like there's just something about a tent and popping it up. Maybe he said it is a kind of callback to your childhood, whatever it is. I remember the first tent I got with my wife was at EMS Pompeo. I was working there, and we thought it was so cool.
Yeah.
Because it had like the zip-on vestibule.
Yeah. Oh.
So you could you could get in, you could like leave your stuff protected in front of your, like a little mudroom for your tent.
Yeah.
Like it was the coolest thing ever. And even though I'm not, the biggest camping fan in the world, it's still like, that's why I'm going to talk about a tent in a second, because it's just like, I don't know. There's just something about setting that up and getting in and getting your sleeping kit put in there. And then when you go to bed, like, I'm going to hang my headlamp at the top to kind of create a little dome lamp at the top, like, I'll put my glasses up there too, whatever, it's like, it's just, there's a thing about being in a tent that's just special.
Yeah, it really is. And, I enjoy setting them up. I enjoy kind of envisioning how I'm going to have it set up on the inside. I mean, I'm a big cot. I always use a cot when I sleep. And so I always use a 3-person tent, even if I'm by myself, so it can accommodate like my cot. But every time you get it all set up, you kind of step back. You always look at it, like, okay, look at it.
Yeah, totally.
Always. It's like cleaning out. It's like washing your bike or your car. You like step back and admire it. And I don't know. I just, I guess this is a human need for shelter. Obviously, I mean, it's not like this is a brilliant realization or anything like that. But more than anything else, it's like that. I mean, what's interesting is it's not even the most important. Theoretically, like your sleeping bag is probably more important. I mean, unless it's raining, in terms of keeping you comfortable. But nothing quite sparks joy to me like a cool little tent. And so that's my pick.
Those are good picks. Good picks, man.
Thanks.
Good picks.
Thanks.
Well, my number one favorite item, like I said, is kind of like I'm squeezing it in here just because I want to talk about it. I have this Go Light sleeping bag that I got when I was working at Go Light. I had it on our trip this weekend. It's amazing how I've had it based on every camping trip I've had since 2007 or 8, something like that. And it's center zip.
So good. Backpack or sleeping bag makers do that more often. Center zip is so easily the best. Easily the best.
Because that was 2007, 2008 time frame. And I know I'm wrong. I'm sure there have been other center zip bags, but the next one I recall coming out that had got any notoriety was the Patagonia one that came out a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
And I remember seeing it.
I feel like I've had other center zip tents, or sleeping bags.
You would think like, okay, everybody who makes sleeping bags, they have like, the double wide bag or whatever. There's a bunch of different, or a mummy or a rectangular one. Why don't you all just have a center zip? I don't get it. It is objectively better than a side zip bag.
I agree. I don't understand it either.
I don't recall. I don't understand. But anyway, that's still my favorite piece of gear. I love that thing. Still going strong years later. But the one I really want to talk about is it's called the Mountain Smith Celestial 2 today. It was called the Morrison when I got it. Then the Morrison is still part of the Mountain Smith line. It's a little bit of a modification. They've done some things differently than the tent that I have. This is that kind of rare occasion where I had just zero expectations for something, and now I'm still using this tent like 12 years later. It was my buddy Jay, was the president of Mountain Smith at the time. I wanted to get a tent that was sort of versatile. We could take car camping, but if I wanted to do a 1 or 2 night backpacking trip, wasn't, weight prohibitive kind of thing. And he sent me this tent. And since then, that's been the go-to for our family. We have a couple of other tents that we use if we need more space. But it is a 2+, right? So you could easily get 3 people in there. So especially when you have kids, like a parent and a couple of kids fit in very comfortably. It is a easy two-pole, dome style setup. Easy peasy to set up. And the thing, I've taken it on the river trips. I've taken it car camping. I've taken it all sorts of different places. It looks brand new.
Yeah.
I was really looking at it on our trip, and I'm like, God, the thing looks good. And I got it 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not out there for 30 nights of summer, like consecutively, like beating it, and it hasn't really gone through a lot of tough weather. But you'd think there shows there's not a mark on it.
Well, yeah.
So it's a really well constructed piece of gear.
And like Mountain Smith is kind of, I mean, I don't know if I would say a budget brand, but I mean they're known for being affordable. So it's not like you paid like $1,000 for it either, which is cool.
Well, I mean, luckily I got hooked up with that one. But the current model on their website is going for $110.
Come on, see what I mean? Yeah, and I love Mountain Smith stuff. Everything I've had from them has been really good, and it's unique. Even if it's just the like pattern on the materials, it's always a little bit unique, and it always works great and really inexpensive. So that's awesome.
I had a conversation earlier today with someone in the industry, and we're talking about the big brands. The stuff problem that we have in the industry that we talk a lot about on this show, both Gear and Beer and the regular Rock Fight show, is some of these people just need to kind of stay in their lane a little bit, right? Like Olakai recently said they're going to release pickleball shoes. It's like, why? Just make freaking dope flip-flops, man. Just do what you do, right? And Mountain Smith is the kind of brand that you can feel really good supporting. They've been around for 45 years. I don't think the team is much bigger than when my friend worked there. There's like 6 people working there.
Yeah.
Just like you said, making really solid products. They have a parent company. I think it's the same parent company that owns Hydro Flask. They're just kind of chugging along, making really good, solid products at a very reasonable price. I think it was originally about a $200 tent, and now they're on sale at
Even
at
still, that's an
$110.
insane price.
Yeah. And look how good it is. And it's like same as yours, like 4.5 pounds. If you want to go backpacking with it, you can. And it just performs. And it's not, you can feel good about spending your money with a brand like this.
Yeah, totally. Plus, they have that dope logo of like an anvil.
They're really well made. They're reputable. They're not trying to be anything more than they are, right? I mean, which is a lot of outdoor brands can say that. They all get kind of, they get lured in by the big bucks. Like, oh, we'll expand, we'll do more things. And it's like, nah, Mountain Smith just makes, really good packs and tents and sleeping bags. Actually, do they have sleeping bags anymore?
Don't know, but if you don't know the Mountain Smith lumbar pack, you gotta check them out because they make by far the best lumbar packs in the biz.
They do not make sleeping bags. My bad. So yeah, you can get the Evo on REI.com. I mean, well, you can not the Evo, the Morrison Evo, the updated version on REI.com or MountainSmith.com. I don't know if the Celestial will come back into inventory if they're going to continue to make it. Maybe it's done, but it's on their website and sold out. So I would assume that it is. And I guess the only other thing really about on the gear side today, like when we talk about the stuffometer and the category, I mean, I'll let you talk about the chairs. I think on the tent side, though, like it's kind of like the wetsuit we talked about last week with Farrell. Like if you buy, whether it was a Farrell wetsuit or another brand, like most people are probably going to have that wetsuit forever. I mean, I'm talking about a tent that I've owned for 12 years.
Yeah.
It's just, and the only reason probably you replaced even your REI, maybe it got a little long in the tooth, but it's because of the nature of your job more than anything else.
I'd still have it if I didn't get tents all the time. Like,
right.
For sure, I'd still have it.
This is one of those things where I think in terms of making stuff, it's probably fine, right? Every big brand's going to have their line of tents. You have a bunch of different choices. I'm sure some stuff gets made specifically to sell at Sierra Trading Post or just Sierra, sorry. I know that stuff happens. But for the most part, most people listening to this are going to get a tent. You probably have it for most of your life if you want to.
That's also it's just so freaking cool. I mean, the old, like new gear obviously since you get a little dopamine release, or whatever when you get one.
Yeah.
But man, there really is nothing cooler than like when you go camping and someone busts out like a 30-year-old tent.
Right?
That is so much cooler, especially if it's been like repaired, I mean,
yeah,
think about it. Every tent you've ever had has like the little the little tent pole repair tube. And like, have you ever used one of those? Probably not.
This is another reason what made me think of it when I was breaking down my tent on Tuesday before I left. And the poles look like they did when I took them out, 12 years ago. And they're still no issues stretching them. I was kind of like waiting. When's that day going to come when I go to break them down and it finally snaps? It doesn't feel like it's going to be soon.
I have had to use one of those once, but it's rare, and like there's just something I would, be like, I would like to have a tent where I've like had to patch a hole,
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
And then, when it's like my boot thing, when you're, and I'm like 70 years old and I'm going camping down the street and I'm like, yeah, I remember using this tent like in Big Sur and way back in 2023, like it was so awesome.
Is that why you set your tent up next to the fire? Because you wanted to see if the little ember might hit it,
I was just blowing smoke out. Yeah, that's exactly why.
What about the chair? What do you think of the chair category? Is it kind of overburdened?
Oh, Jesus.
Is it overloaded?
I mean, of course it is. I mean, like everybody makes a freaking camping chair. And Lord knows we have plenty of them, but this one's unique enough to where I don't think that it's, it's going to be. I mean, the camp chair is a category. You got to have one. They're important, but we have too many of them.
Right.
So that's a tough one to rate. But as like individually, I'd probably give the chair. Honestly, I want to give it like an 8 because it's like there isn't.
Wow.
I can't think of another chair quite like this. There might be other ones like it. I've never had one quite like this. That's this well thought out and like really serves its purpose really well. Like I'd be bummed if they stopped making it and mine broke. I'd be really bummed. I don't know how I'd replace it.
Well, and Nemo is one of the few brands who, kind of are using that, talking about circularity. They just released their pack line that has recyclable contents, which I'm sure you have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get them recyclable, but they're trying.
They're trying.
They're overtly trying to make a difference that way. So you can feel good about supporting them as a brand.
Yeah, and you should. They're very cool. It's a very cool brand. But yeah,
what are you rating? What are you rating the Half Dome?
Same deal, honestly. I mean, it's like so the thing about REI that I really do like is that they don't make, as far as I'm concerned, they don't make shitty product. So even if it's really inexpensive and not that flashy, it's going to work. That's such an important thing in the outdoor space. And like, I'd rather have a tent like that than some finicky sil nylon $800 thing that, like, if you breathe on it wrong, it's gonna shred. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Maybe it only weighs what a Kleenex does, but frankly, that doesn't matter to me that much. You know, it would, I guess, if I was running the entire PCT in sandals. But guess what? I'm not. So I want something that's bulletproof. I mean, that doesn't cost that much. I mean, you could outfit yourself with a tent, a backpack, a sleeping bag, and a sleeping pad, all made by REI for probably less than $800. You know, like if you're just starting out from scratch, and like that's great. I mean, a lot of some of the other tents I have cost $800 by themselves. You know, and it's not like you don't get like a better night's sleep just because it's, you know. So anyway, I think as far as the budget bulletproof, never have to worry about it. Tent goes, it deserves a high ranking on the Stephometer, just because I don't think there's a ton out there that can rival it. So I'd also put an 8, I think, on the tent.
Yeah, I was going to give the Mountainsmith tent, which was the Morrison, now the Celestial, I give it a 7.6. I think that's just for the longevity. There's nothing special about it in terms of like what it can do, right? It's very solid, but all the things you say apply, you know, I think, but that's just kind of what I felt like. It makes a lot of sense, you know, in the land of tents. I think your point about REI makes a lot. It's a good point. Like, and that kind of goes back to it made me think about my point about like kind of stay in your lane. Like, I feel like REI is a good candidate for that. Like, just it used to be like it was a good value, like really good stuff. You didn't have to buy the big brand, name brand stuff, and you get an equal quality. And now they're kind of like, I don't know, out over their skis, to use a term that makes sense in the outdoor space. Like, it's just so you're trying to do a little too much. Like, kind of get back to where you were, REI. You know, people liked REI, or they still do like REI. I'm not saying they don't, but it's like you're having a lot of issues. It sounds like, you know, both on the staffing level and then on the even, you know, your earnings last year weren't so great. So I think what Justin described is what people think of when they think of REI about what makes REI great.
I mean, I'd bet that the earnings they did have are probably based entirely on things like the Half Dome tent, just that foundational, inexpensive, you know, relatively speaking, of course, the foundational, inexpensive product that like first timers and people on a budget can, even if it's not even if you camp for 30 years, you need a new tent, but you don't want to spend a bunch of money. It's like that's probably most of their sales. You know, I would think.
Well, they had a $300 million loss last year, so there wasn't really any earnings. But,
well, you know. Yeah, I know, but I mean, it wasn't a Half Dome's fault. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, come on, not blaming the Half Dome.
Yeah. Also, just that's a cool name. You know, doesn't look anything like Half Dome. But, you know.
Okay, let's now turn our attention to after the activity. At the break, the put in the trailhead, we're going to crack open the cooler and imbibe a beverage so we can celebrate our wins and losses in the backcountry. Let's have a beer. So, all right, we've just rolled into camp. We have the Mountainsmith Morrison and the REI Half Dome set up. Aww. You are relaxing in your Stargaze camp chair. You're checking out the stars. You're just looking up. Mm-hmm. You're so comfortable right now.
I'm awake.
You're awake?
I'm awake.
I'm asleep in the dirt next to the table because I just couldn't make it to my tent. Yeah. We have the fire going. We open up the cooler and pull out a 10-barrel juicy drama. Justin, why is this the pairing that matters most at the campsite?
Well, it's a bang for your buck, that's for sure. I mean, you only need one for the whole trip. If you could seal this beer, you could have this beer for like 4 days and just have like a little sip each day and you'd be good. It's not that strong, but it feels like it.
Well, it's 9.6, right?
I like that in the notes it says, let's have a beer, like all caps. And that's what they should be. That's what this should be called. Just beer. Like that. Like, beer shouting at you.
You know those like greeting cards, you open it, like it plays a song. Like you crack this thing open and it yells at you.
So let's talk about the, as we like to do, let's talk about the art on the can. Got some eagles getting some salmon out of this river. No apocalyptic anything other than that. Looks like a beautiful day. I mean, it's a beautiful day unless you're this fish. You
know what is prominently featured though?
Hops.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't miss them.
So this is an Imperial IPA. Now, Imperial usually just means, if I may use some the Northern California lingo, hella strong. I mean, that's basically all Imperial means. There's not like a specific like ABV it needs to have to achieve that. But this is a 9.6% ABV beer, my friends.
Is there a point where a double IPA leaps to Imperial, or are they basically the same?
This is pretty close to it. If I see Imperial on a sign, or on a can, I'm gonna assume around 10%. So this is getting there.
Okay. So if you're under that, then you could say double.
Yeah, I mean you can call it whatever you want. It's not like champagne. Not like there's some sort of rule about like what it is. Yeah, and so like you don't see a ton of you'd be more likely to see a triple IPA, I think, than a Imperial IPA. Imperial is for whatever reason often reserved for like stouts. You see a lot of Imperial stouts.
Oh, so there are triple IPAs. That's a thing.
Yeah, Finding the Younger is considered a triple IPA, but for example, the Younger, not the Elder, the one that's really hard to find. So yeah, but again, those things are essentially. Not that they're meaningless. There's no like rigorous standard that they're held to. But anyway, that's what this was going with. It says it has natural flavors, which is making me think it has. It doesn't say what though. So I would guess based on the color of the can, orangey, maybe like pineapple juice or something in it. I don't know.
It says
it's going to have some sort of tropical flavor. I mean, so juicy drama is a play probably on the fact that it has some juice in it, but also like really danky gnarly hops are usually called juicy anyway, so that's kind of a double entendre kind of situation here.
All right, man, should we crack open the final 10 barrel month?
Yeah, I'm afraid to.
Should I yell beer when I crack this open?
Beer!
Beer!
Okay, let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
I'm drunk. I'm already drunk. Okay, I'm gonna pour
it smells juicy.
It smells like pineapple juice.
It smells
exactly
that's what
like
I mean.
pineapple juice.
Yeah. Oh, that's not good, man. If this is going to be drinkable like the Cloud Mentality,
it'd be a problem. All right.
Oh, it looks like pineapple juice.
Is this pineapple juice?
This is pineapple juice with vodka. Yes,
It's a Greyhound with pineapple juice. Yeah, it actually does kind of look like sparkling pineapple juice. It's pretty yellow. It's like a light yellow with like a little gold. It smells like pineapple juice. All right, here we go.
You ready? Here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's fucking dangerous.
So that tastes. See, this tastes less strong to me than the last one.
Way less strong. Yeah. Well, I'm getting the warmth now. The warmth is kind of hitting my chest a little bit.
Yeah. But if you just handed me this and I took a couple sips and I wasn't paying attention, I might not realize it was an Imperial.
When you listen to last week's episode, we say like, we're not going to finish this. We're kind of commenting on it the same way we're commenting on this one because that was a 9%. I had no problem not finishing that beer that day, even though I really liked it. We ranked it highly.
Yeah,
I was like, okay,
this is a good beer. This is a good beer.
This is more drinkable than the Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
This is almost as drinkable as the Cloud Mentality, I feel like.
So here's the thing. That's nice thing about this, and God, I wish this was possible, but it'll never happen. Like, I would love to see this sold in like a 6-ounce can, or even like a 4-ounce can.
Thank you.
Because
bring back the pony bottles.
Honestly, like, or if you go beer tasting and you get those little cute little like 3-ounce pours of everything, like you want this at like a beer tasting, or like, so I used to run a beer bar, and I would do this where there'd be like kind of not like a dessert beer, but kind of like a digestif beer, because we didn't have an alcohol license. So we had a lot of really strong beers. And so I would do these cute little like tulip glasses that were pretty small. It'd be like 4 ounces, and it would be like, you could have that after your meal. Cause that's what you want with this. You want about 4 ounces of this. This would actually make a really good digestif.
Yeah. Cause this is in a 12-ounce can is evil.
That's a lot of this beer. I mean, even if it wasn't that strong.
No, but I also feel like I could put down this can really quickly. Like, just drink it. You could just like, just keep drinking it and be like, it's really good.
It does taste like pineapple juice. Yeah. It really does. You could probably chug this can before you realized that was a huge mistake. Yeah.
When we talk about getting those like Imperial stouts or the barrel aged stuff, you start drinking, you're like, I gotta take a break, right? It's like
right. Yeah.
This is
like my children would drink this.
And they'd be happy. They'd be like, wait, this juice tastes funny, Daddy. They'd be a third of the way through it before they even said that,
Jesus Christ. That's so dangerous.
I'm going to have some more, though.
Yeah, it's good. I can already feel it. The 2 sips I had, I can already feel it. That, you know what, though? That really is. That's like I've had a meal. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to have like a little nightcap. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Usually you would be like, some brown water, right? A little liquor, something like that.
Yeah.
Like that. In this case, little 4-ounce pour of the Juicy Drama kind of gets the job done.
Super cold would be really, really good in Hawaii or something, like a nice tropical destination. Have this like ice cold, like almost frozen. Oh, be good.
What would you eat with something like this? Is this truly like, nah, this is only after you've eaten kind of
thing?
I
think you could. I think this would actually pair really well with food because I mean it's a really big. It's not that big. It's weird. It drinks so smooth, but it's a pretty big beer. This would be really good with fried food. I mean, all beer is, but this would be really good with fried food. This would be really good with like fish that has some kind of like citrusy element to it. This would be super good with like Thai food, I think.
If you think about like if we had gone, I think actually this worked out really well with the pairing we're doing on the gear front, because if we had gone and done like 2 bike rides on Monday, we did 1, right? If we were pretty whooped, right? We didn't really, and maybe you were as tired as me, and neither one of us really felt like staying up to kind of crush one of these and then just go to bed.
Yeah. God. I thought you were going to say just go ham, just crush one of these and then just go run down to the beach and just freak out. Yeah. Remember those days? You're like, I'm going to have 3 beers and I'm going to be energetic afterward. And like, we're going to just run down the street. Now it's like I have 3 beers and I can barely watch a baseball game. But
I do think I'm feeling it in my head right now.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No question about it.
Before we rate it, I will say 10 Barrel, thank you.
Took a shirt off, turned his hat backward 30 seconds ago. He's buying stuff. He's drunk buying.
He just left the podcast. He just ran out of here. He's like, I gotta go.
I'm impersonating Colin. I'm doing both sides of the mic.
That'd be amazing. He's a ventriloquist too. Well, no, I will say, hey, before we rated 10 Barrel, you guys kind of crushed it with all 4. I mean, all 4 beers were spectacular.
Really good beers. I mean, 10 Barrel, I'm sure that not everything you make is this great, but you've hopefully.
You duped us.
Yeah, because everything has been really good. I mean, I've been really impressed. I knew I liked 10 Barrel, but yeah, all 4 of these have been really good.
Yeah. The Cloud Mentality, definitely the winner of the 4, if I had to pick one for sure. But let's let's rate this guy. What are you thinking?
A number just popped into my head and it's 8.3.
Yep. You did last week, the Always Down, you gave an 8.
Yeah, this is better.
The Apocalypse, you did 8.7, and the Cloud Mentality, you did a 9.
Yeah, that's a good
I'm
beer.
just going to go right with you and say, well, sorry, hold on. I'm going to go 8.6.
The thing is, this one it's a bit smoother. They've masked the alcohol a little bit better than in the previous one. It's funny because for the Hop Burst series, it's pretty. There's not a lot of hops to this.
No, it's probably the least hoppy of the 4.
This beer tastes like a Belgian beer. This beer has that kind of, like a lot of Belgian beers have like a banana sort of tropically thing. That's the yeast. I wouldn't be surprised if they used a Belgian yeast with this one, to be honest with you.
What's the IBU?
I guess I don't know if you can mix yeast, though. Now I'm thinking about it. It might not say.
Should we look it up?
Yeah, I bet.
I'm giving this an 8.6 because I like it more than the Apocalypse, and I gave that one an 8.4. So I did 8.6 for this. I did 7.2 for the Always Down, which I mean I liked, but I guess I never really felt like I would probably drink it again. This I would drink. I will drink.
Untapped is a gnarly. Those people are mean on Untapped.
Nothing gets.
Like nothing gets a good rating.
What do they rate the juice? What's the average rating of the Juicy Drama on Untapped?
Like 3 stars
out of 4.
5.
Oh, fuck off. Are you serious? Come on.
But these are hard. These are definitely hard to rate, though, because it's like you either like these or you don't.
But, I mean, this is not, if it's a 4 out of 5 at least, right?
I would think so, yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing IBUs. I'm very curious, though. I guess I could just look up IBUs. 30. I was going to, you know what?
Oh, it's low.
I was going to say something in the 30s, but I didn't want to be like wildly wrong.
Really low.
Awesomely, the picture of the if you go to the website, the homepage for Juicy Drama, it's a woman fly fishing, which is badass.
All right, well, to summarize this episode of Gear and Beer, in our gear category, we have the REI Half Dome 2, which Justin rated an 8, and the Nemo Stargaze Camp Chair, which Justin also rated an 8. We also have the Old School Mountain Morrison, which today is called the Celestial, which I rated a 7.6. And when you're looking to end your day at your campsite, like really end it, like have a beer and go straight to sleep, the official Cicerone of the Rock Fight suggested you enjoy yourself a frosty cold 10-barrel Juicy Drama, which Justin rated an 8.3 and I rated an 8.6 on the Gear and Beer scale.
Mm-hmm.
Another one in the books. Look at us go.
Kind of sad to say goodbye to 10-barrel.
I am as well. I mean, it was really nice to have, that decision made for us for 4 weeks.
It was.
Say that.
Yeah, I guess
and it paid off because they were all good.
What we could do is we could just plan out the episodes.
Oh my God, you're smart. You're really smart.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is the show for today. What did you think of this edition of Gear and Beer? And do you have a suggestion for a future edition of Gear and Beer? Do you simply just like Gear and Beer and want to tell us about it? Send an email to myrockfight@gmail.com and let us know what you think. The Rock Fight is a production of Rock Fight LLC. For Justin Hausman, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And here to take us out, it's Krista Makes with the Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock Fight!